Now, as a bonus, I want to say 4 things from my very first experience today in Nightmare. First, with a precursor, I watched a little bit of Nightmare, and I saw like hags and ogres moving in somehow, like in the very first map. You know, a hag trying to come into the safe room of the very first level, and there were armored enemies, and it just was crazy. And I'm like, man, that seems, I like bullying. It seems like it might not even be fair. It seems like downright upsetting. You know, like this is not even a game anymore. It's just abuse. Okay. The way that I feel right now is that Nightmare really does build upon all the lessons you've learned and makes the penalty for not following them the top penalty. If you, early on in my first tips video, I talked about minimum distance, because the tall boys are like this, and then they go, whoa, and then they got a crazy long reach. They will get you. Long dong reach, man. They'll get you. You know? You'll learn today. Remember that Kevin Hart skit? Anyway, I got a long dick. That was the punchline. But the tall boy will get you. It will get you. So if it's looking at you, you need to go away. You need to backtrack a little bit. And if you don't learn that lesson, it won't just like push you back and punch you. It might kill you. Like, that's it. That's it. And you don't start off with lives. I think if you get incapacitated in the first mission, kaput, unless you're running cards that improve everybody's life. So the reason why I call it survival horror is that it takes away this idea that you can somehow just withstand the meat hammer, right? Like, it's coming down to crush your skull and your body. You're not going to withstand that. And so how you turn around corners and hitting those weak spots, and shoving before you shoot so that the enemies just don't hit you and do that chip damage, like all that shit becomes like nice to practice in recruit and in veteran, and it becomes a matter of life and death in hard mode. Your whole game style has to be in like cemented. So playing a Nightmare at the point when you have all the cards is now less about what cards you play, because you already have all the cards, you can keep experimenting. It very much is about following the rules, man. Following the rules and being really good at them. Being really good at making smart plays within the rule set. And if you don't do it, you're gonna die a horrible death, and you're gonna lead your teammates to a horrible death. It feels so survival horror to me. Like, I mean, fast paced, yes. Action horror, yes. But it's very much about problem solving and being smart and being conscious and being present. Fresh cup of coffee, beginning of the stream, Nightmare runs. Yeah, you can warm up on something else, but fucking be smart. Now, that was my observation of like the game and what it was communicating to me playing it. This is what I observed from my players. One other thing. One of the cards, the first card that we got, was Biohazard, and it was going into the second mission. Biohazard ticks down your life, right? And so you have to kill to get your life back. But temporary health can counter this. So by the time you're in that, you should be familiar with temporary health and using items that award you temporary health. There are a lot of that in the game, and they kind of act like an overshield, because in some cases temporary health can either give you extra defense, or at the very least it just covers, like absorb damage for you. So temporary health is very good, and as long as you're operating at bot pace throughout the level, you can deal with it because the tick is very slow. Temporary health does go down at twice the rate though, so you don't want to take too long, scrounging for items. You kind of want to be objective oriented, and you want to make very quick adjustments as you're going. In Apex Legends, I used to agonize over whether or not I like this scope on this gun, and then I would die a lot. And it got to the point where my cousins and my old friends who were very good at the game, they would use me as bait, because they'd be like, he's looking at attachments again, so let's wait. And of course, another team would come over the hill and start, circling around me, and that's when they would get baited, because they would think that I represent the team. I don't. These killers on my team represent the team, and me unknowingly, I'm looking like, I think I want this. I think it's faster. And then I look up, I'm surrounded, getting shot up, and then from the flank they come like out of the shadows. I don't know. The ghillie suits are not a thing, but it's like they just ninja into the, and then they help me. I was being carried, but in a way I was carrying them because they needed the bait. Anyway, I digress. What the fuck was I talking about? I was talking about biohazard. This is one example that may make you feel a certain way, right? First of all, it's an example of nightmare difficulty. It takes your health down, but it's also a test on everything you've learned through recruit and through veteran. So if you've learned a whole bunch of things about being careful and covering each other and the bot pacing and the formation and the things and the value of different stats and how your build works, and then this one card, because it makes you nervous, causes you to race through the map on nightmare difficulty like an idiot, okay, and you die, you'll know exactly why. It's because you thought that nightmare difficulty was a completely different game, and it's the same game, same rules, just more punishing. And so what you've got to do is you've got to play by those rules better and faster and smarter, right? It does not mean that the whole game has changed. It does not mean you change your whole deck, you change everything you know about the game. It doesn't mean that. It means that you're just more efficient, more tight-knit, more effective. You can't run around willy-nilly. You can't fuck around too much. Nightmare difficulty basically says if you fuck around too much, you're doing it wrong. It's very specific in you playing in formation and in covering each other and in moving at a sensible pace and in not getting distracted, split up, separated, indecisive. If you quick play into somebody match, right? They should be the leader, or you should be moving as a tight knit group, but always like around the melee as the anchor and utilizing that. And obviously in the first level, it's very difficult to do that because you don't have all your cards in play. Nevertheless, use the stats that are available to your characters at the very beginning and set up accordingly, and cover each other. Anyway, the reason why I bring that up is because I observed, me and my friend who had one of my viewers from chat, we had just finished beating Act 3 and then Act 4 in Veteran. So we jumped into Nightmare. And you would think that the people we were playing with had never played Back 4 Blood before. Because the first thing they did was sprinted. And this is not with Biohazard. This was in the first mission. So that Biohazard card I was talking about came in the second mission. The first mission, pew, like up the room, getting jacked up by mutations, being overwhelmed by the volatile ridden. I, of course, was behind, shooting, coming up, taking my time. But it was like they never played this game before. We just had, with randoms, successful completion of what was it? What was that crazy one in the medical facility? Welcome to Hell, or Run Like Hell, or Into Hell, whatever. It's the one where you're, the fences and the long passageways, and that was hard, right? We did it. It wasn't the prettiest run, but it was doable because our team had experience and we were pretty smart, right? And we operated more or less for many chunks of that at bot pacing. When people wig out and run, they get everybody killed, man. That is like zombie survival 101. So and it happened here. And then the second thing that was immediate, it happened within I think the very second game. So we died, we came back, it was immediate. The second game, there was a guy that my buddy and I had to report. I, thankfully, had my game on mute, as you guys know that I tend to do on default, both for the stream and my own sanity. But he, the people I play with, they will often be in voice chat, and they'll hear what's going on. And this guy was mouthing off the N-word over and over and over. He had a vaguely provocative name, which by itself shouldn't have been an issue. But then on top of that, this guy was really trying to get under people's nerves in voice chat. There's a lot of tension in Nightmare difficulty, and it's going to bring out either the best or the worst in people. For those of you who have played Darkest Dungeon, you know what I'm talking about. It's like virtue or vice. Like they're either gonna rise to the occasion and be like sportsmen from heaven, or they're gonna be fucking shitbags, and they're gonna make you have like a lot of dark thoughts, like being drawn and quartered, or this live, sacrifice into a volcano, shit like that. And you don't need that negativity in your life, you know what I'm saying? So unless these people come pre-approved, I would just say mute it, because then at least you could just play with their gamer soul, not their bitch assness personality, but you could play with the part of them that actually like plays. And it's funny because this guy was talking a lot of shit, but at the beginning of that round, after we had died the first time, he was actually moving more deliberately. It was weird. It was like two different people. My buddy's telling me that he's acting up in chat, screaming expletives and racial slurs, and then in the game he's like slow, like as if. I think that the gamer version of people is so much more cooler than their fucking actual personality. It's the weirdest thing to me. I just don't have the patience for it. But it's funny for me to acknowledge. That being said, protect your mental health and protect your sensitivity. If you are at all an empathetic person, a compassionate person, a person that's interested in social interaction or whatever, some of that's going to get burnt out by bitches like this. So don't feel bad about, like deciding when and where you want to like reach out to people. If you have a really good game with someone, you send them a message, be like, yo, good game, GG, they send something back, there's like some, back and forth. Okay, great. Because that was unacceptable. We had to report the guy. And apparently, my friend reminded me that when you sign the agreements in the beginning, you're being recorded. But I guess it depends on whether or not you're being reported for them to like then go in and investigate the recordings. So I don't know how effective that's going to be in curtailing people being fucked up, but nevertheless, we have a responsibility to protect each other, right? So, bring your, I would suggest, my suggestion, I'm not telling anybody how to be, because sometimes life is shit and you just feel like being shit, okay. But there's going to be consequences if you bring that into this environment. You don't have to, right? So if you are going to play the game, it asks a lot of you, especially at nightmare difficulty. Woo, stop, man. Drink some chamomile tea, chill out. Tell yourself, this is my gaming time. I'm not gonna bring the day into this, let me try to like relax and chill with people. You could be human, you can get pissed off at the game, but if you're thinking I'm just gonna fuck with people, you're probably gonna get ignored and reported. And then what was that for? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Like, anyway, whatever. To each his own. We'll figure it out, right? But that was my first experience of Nightmare. Very intense survival horror elements and immediate introduction to a toxic element in the player space. Like right the fuck away. Like our second game, which was amazing to me. I should probably say now, after having given this whole spiel, that the next video might be one or two about more experiences through Nightmare, because I tend to run this regularly, and then my overall like tips and takes away from Nightmare as it contrasts to Veteran and whatever else I learn about the game. Any sort of mechanics or anything like that. And then after that, it's just going to be game highlights for the most part. So, anything that I think is fun or funny or, whatever. Once I get through that, then it's just learning and playing with others and probably just quick playing everything. I don't care. And then just enjoying it very passively. So that's what's coming. And it's probably going to take me some time to get through Nightmare. I imagine I'm going to struggle with it. So there'll be more game highlights of that. And then I think... I don't know when, but at some point I gotta finish my Let's Play Cyberpunk 2077. I'm really close to committing to a Witcher 1, 2, and 3 Let's Play. Probably after Cyberpunk. And then And then maybe I have a PS5 and I haven't played anything on it. I've never played Demon Souls. There are other games that are orbiting my consciousness. So for those of you who have enjoyed this game and any game in the future on my channel, know that there's a percentage of my consciousness that definitely wants to keep playing what I enjoy when I know that my audience enjoys this. And then there's a part of me that is very human that's like, oh, what's that? Oh, what's that? And it's gonna happen. Okay? So every game that I do, especially those of you who just started following me, knowing that I'm not in the partner program, I don't, this is something that I'm working on and I'm very interested in, but at the same time, I'm like developing my own process too. Every video that I do, whether it's a Let's Play or my tips or my take on it, is meant to be like a limited series as a default. And if I happen to go long term with something, it's like because I couldn't break away with it. It's like because quite naturally I found so much fun with the game that I just wanted to independently create new content for it. If I don't do that, or if I do eventually exit from a game, and I think you guys will understand, it's because, it's like a river, man. The gaming space just flows, and that's it. So just a heads up. Some people give me some very kind comments and have thanked me for covering this game, even though I have done Let's Plays before and maybe not tips videos before. I didn't really get into Left 4 Dead at all, so I'm really humbled by it, and I am enjoying my time, and I do anticipate adding more commentary. Well, not commentary, but highlights and in some cases reactions to the game. But pretty much what's left to cover is just nightmare difficulty. What it's like, what I learned, what to watch out for, how to deal with shit. And I max 2 to 3 videos more on that space, talking head shit. All right. And as for specifics about my build or anything like that, I will not create a specific build, because the minute that I put one build out there, I'm going to encounter something that's going to make me tweak it. And it's just going to get nauseating for me to constantly update why I tweaked it. And, when I don't really know if it's effective for every situation, you know what I'm saying? I trust you guys who are gamers, who are problem solvers, who are thinkers, who are enjoying the experience, to think critically about what went wrong and why after the match, and then adjust. And as long as you're playing by the survival horror rules and taking care of your team and letting them take care of you, I guarantee you that you'll have enough time to see how far your deck will bring you. Because your approach to these maps and your approach to Back 4 Blood is as important as the deck that you build to support your playstyle, right? If you have a really great, in theory, deck, but you're playing like a madman, right? Just running and gunning in the most dangerous difficulty that this game has to offer, then it doesn't matter. You'll never see what your deck can do for you. You just won't get it. If you do, it'll be luck. It'll be luck and great. If you have we had a run where, people just bolted. That the first run, there was a guy that just bolted, and because all of us were dead and absorbing attacks from the various things that he, just juked, he made it to the safe room of the first mission, and we got 11 supply points. Kept our continue, so kudos to him. He knew when to bolt, but I don't think that's the example of a solid mission run where it's, the lowest common denominator. Just finish. Okay, could you just finish and close the door, please? That's what happened. Because that dude wasn't a team player, and he was acting like he just started playing, and the first thing he did was jump into nightmare difficulty. And that's what's gonna happen, and there's gonna be frustration. This game is incredibly satisfying when things go right, and otherwise it is frustration and letdown, almost comically so, to the fact where that's as I've said before, that's my way of enjoying this game, seeing how people fuck up. But that's my report. So those are my observations. Getting through veteran difficulty including some observations breaking into Nightmare, a wild new card, right, that adds a gray mist that takes away our health, a very intense penalization for not playing by the rules, and also dealing immediately with people who are responding to that intensity, the level of heightened gameplay with a lot of negativity, in chat. Like, there's a toxic community, that's where they're at, where shit matters most and people really, like, it brings out either the best or the worst in people. That's where you're gonna find them. So that's it. I'm Dangerlander1K here on twitch.tv, Wave the Dangerlander on YouTube, and if you've gotten this far with me, holy shit, right? So I mean, thanks. Thanks. And yeah, keep on watching. Okay, peace. May the Dangerlands favor you.